a really bad, like, weird misspelled name.
Mhm.
She wanted to name, at first, when we were deciding the name, she was like, we'll name her Leilani. Not Leilani, Leilani.
L-A-Y?
I have no idea.
How she wanted to spell it? Leilani. Well,
Leigha.
oh, L-E-I-G-H, Lonnie, L-A-N-I?
Yeah, it was a really long name, and I was like.
And it's Hawaiian. It's Hawaiian for one thing.
Is it really?
Yes, it's Hawaiian name.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have a cousin named Leilani, not Leilani.
Well, the only reason I'm aware of that, it's more along the lines of Pacific Islanders, is there was an old John Wayne movie called, why have I lost the name of it? But basically, one of the characters in it is a young island girl, and her name is Leilani. So, we're gonna be working on the textbook today. So, you'll need to get into your textbook. How much fun? And so I get to stand over next to the speaker so I can hear the schools today. And
you didn't have that many today in your big class.
well, no, actually, there's supposed to be 4 in that class. One of them, actually, there's supposed to be 5. I have, she hasn't been to class in 7 weeks. She transferred into my class after the first week. She came for a week and a half, and she hasn't been back. And she turned in the narrative, you know, and I finally last week said, you need to drop my class, because you're not going to pass. I said, this is not an online class. You can't just watch the videos. You have to be in class. And because she's not being successful. But, yeah, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this is her 6th week to miss. You just can't, you know, ideally, because I don't know, because it's hard to watch the TV and pay good attention. Isn't it? Have you tried it? It's not easy. I get that. But compared to an online class, it's that much better, because at least you know who your instructor is. You have a visual of them. And I can always say, go back and look at the videos. And there are some people that will go watch them. Like Crosbyton was at state. They ended up getting 5th in state marching contest last night.
Didn't even advance.
Huh?
Didn't advance.
Well, you know, yeah, it's really interesting, but they probably didn't get their results till 11:30, midnight. But I emailed them, and I said, I emailed them when I got here, and I said, hey, congratulations on making finals. I just looked at it, and then I said, and then I went in and looked at what they got, and I said, hey, listen, 5th is pretty darn good. Out of all the 1A bands in the state, 5th is not bad. And it was pretty much consensus on the band that got first. So, good morning, Morton. Good morning, Post. I'm making my last school visit this Friday. I'm not going to make it to last, buddy. I need to email her and say, I am so sorry, I'm not going to make it out this semester. It's just, we're going to hit daylight savings time, and when you leave it, I would be leaving at 6:15 in the morning to get there. It would be dark into, you know, it would be dark for a while. It's really dark at 6:15, let's just say. Good morning. How are you doing? I haven't had a chance to respond to your last email. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm trying to think. Why did I hum that? The wedding dum dum. And okay, we're going to be going over the professional reading. Do you have access to a computer? Yep. Okay. So that you can go in and look at the reading. I'm going to read you the professional essay. Then we're going to go over the questions. Part of what's going on there is to look at how a professional handles an argumentative essay. And I'm going to say, you can't do what they're doing. They're professionals. They can do this. You guys need to stick to a basic essay format, okay? Let's like, the introduction on this professional essay is 2 paragraphs long. I don't want you to give me 2 paragraphs. I'm sorry. I want 1 paragraph that has more than 2 sentences in it. Now, I've had several I haven't got to y'all's compare and contrast, but you're my smallest section, so trust me, I'm looking forward to getting to you guys. I'm trying to get through the big one that I have at 9 o'clock, has about 28 in it, and I'm a little over halfway through, so I'm hoping that by next Monday I'll have all of y'all's graded. So, and then I can start flying through those summaries, because the summaries are pretty easy. They're an easy grade compared to that, because they're not as long, and they're very much formulaic what has to be done in them. So we're gonna do that. So, we're gonna be looking at, it's called, the title of the professional essay is very interesting. It is Essay on the Importance of Teaching Failure. I'm just gonna, Morgan, when you were in school, how were your English grades? Were they always pretty good? Okay. Jose?
My English grades,
Uh-huh.
they're always pushing 80.
Pushing 80, so let me, I'm gonna interpret this as, you did enough to stay eligible to play sports, right? Or a little more?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Matthias, how about you? About the same? Okay. So, there's, particularly those senior years, in small schools, it's all about having a good time, right?
Yeah.
Or at least it is for some of the students, you've got those people you hate who always make the really good grades, right? I get that. So, we're gonna be on page 380, but I just wanna remind you that on Friday, you have a quiz over chapter 16. And the readings begin on page 370. Now, I have my screen blown up a lot so that when I'm gonna read the professional essay to you, so that when I do that, it's easy to see what's going on. But the first one is 370 in your textbook. If you've got it shrunk down, I had to scroll down way down on page 370 to get to this. So remember, just because it's not at the top of the page doesn't mean it's not in the body of the page. Because if you look at, here's the textbook, they can't see it. Here's the textbook, and the essay begins down here, okay? That was really graceful, wasn't it? Listen, a few years ago, I was doing something with an iPad and had it propped in my lap, and it hit me on the lip and it bruised. I have a bruise on my lip from it, so sometimes I'm not the most coordinated individual. So Teenagers and Jobs is on 370. And they're not super long essays, that's the good thing. All right, then you get to, Once Over Lightly, Local TV News is the second essay. Right after those, you have 10 questions about them. I double-checked this morning to make sure that they're not the same questions that are on the test. They're not, so don't think you can do that. Don't think you can answer those and you'll have it ready to go. But I do recommend reading them before you take the test. And you can have them open while you take the test. But you're gonna have to flip back and forth. So, you've only got 60 minutes on the quiz. It opens at 8 a.m., shuts down at midnight, so make sure you get it taken. So here we've got that. And then you're gonna see that the questions are about unity, they're about support, and they're about coherence. And then the last one is going to look at the introduction and conclusion. So if you answer those questions on just a scrap piece of paper, it might help you with the questions that are on the test, okay? But the instructions do tell you on the test, hold on, let me get off of that, because I'm not sure where I am on pages, so I hate to open up and I'm in the grade book and you can see people's grades. Not that you can read them, but you can. Let's see, 201. So when you go into this week, course content, go to week 10, right down there, you guys can't see it because I'm the instructor, so I see everything, but it says, item is hidden from students that will be available after November 5th at 8 a.m. To prepare for this quiz, read the following student essays in Langham ebook, 10th edition. Teenagers and Jobs, it says page 371, it's actually 370, and the Once Over Lightly, Local TV News, follows right after it, okay? So you will see that, just realize that it's one page before. When we created all of this, it's slightly off from going from the hard copy to the e-text, and there are some misspellings, I'll just tell you. So that's just to get you prepared for that test. Be sure you take it, get it out of the way, okay? Don't try to hang on and say, oh, I'm going to take them all that week before finals. That's not a realistic approach to doing this. Take it now, get it done, all right? And it's only worth 15 points. I might need to make sure that that's all it's worth. Reading quizzes, yeah, there's 8 at 15 points. So I need to go back in. I'm glad I said that. Check points on quiz 16. And we've got to squeeze one more in that'll be over chapter 5 before the end of the semester. I may just put it that last week so everybody's at least taken one. So in the textbook, We're gonna look at, let me go to 380, so I'm not. It's not on page 80, it's on page 379, a model essay to consider. Essay on the Importance of Teaching Failure, so, by Edward Berger, not Edgar. One of the things to think about is, so when you see a title, what is it telling you about what it's gonna be about? So I see Essay on the Importance of Teaching Failure. People need to learn how to fail. Don't think of it as a fail as in a grade, is to be unsuccessful, to attempt something and not get it done. And so I'm gonna give you my example. When I was in, I guess junior high is what it was called when I was in the 7th grade. That was the first time they introduced us to learn how to shoot layups with our left hand, or the opposite hand. Almost all of us were right-handed, okay. So I remember I had a basketball goal outside in my backyard. We had a big concrete patio, and I would practice. I'd go bounce, bounce, step, step, and shoot. And I did that repeatedly for a week. When I first started off, I didn't make it very often. And after I'd done it for a week, I made it most of the time. So you learn from failure. You practice, practice, practice. It's like when you're running plays in football, or you're marching in the band, when you learn the marching routine. You know, you don't always get it right. There have been some spectacular fails with marching bands. I was at a Tech game one time, and they were playing A&M, and somehow, and A&M marches they march the same routine for every single football game, or at least they used to. Haven't seen them in 10 years. But one part, they make a big A&M T. One part of their T did not create, whoever was supposed to make that first turn didn't make it. So the part of the T was on a different spot on the field. So failure happens, and we learn from it, right? Here's my other example. As a little kid, told not to put your hand on the stove, right? Because if the stove is hot, when you put your hand on it, you burn it. So you learn from that failure. So that's what we're talking about here. We need to learn from failure, okay? What can we conclude when undergraduates bemoan? So I can already tell you, when it says what can we conclude when undergraduates, that you're talking about college faculty. College university faculty, right there. How did anyone ever come up with this stuff? Although the students might feel confused or bedazzled, there's one thing for certain: the instructor jumped over the requisite missteps that originally led to the discovery at hand. This type of intellectual revisionism often depicts weighty concepts and conclusions as slick and sanitized, and as a result, foreign and intangible. They make it seem like when they made these, it's like, when you hear the story about Newton discovers gravity, right? An apple falls on his head and boom, there's gravity right there. I don't think it happened quite that fast. I think he had thought, what causes, he had to go through multiple processes to figure out exactly what was happening. So this is what it's saying. We tend to clean up history so that it seems to be nice and streamlined and no problems. Everybody managed, it's like space flight. I can remember, I'm old enough to remember when we had the shuttle explode right after takeoff.
I remember that one.
You weren't alive.
I remember that in history.
There you go. Okay. But I remember actually seeing it and going, and I'm not talking about the one that exploded, or that fell apart when they were trying to land. That has the guy, Willie McCool was the pilot on that. So they learn from their failures. It's like with, what am I thinking? There's something going on right now where there's this whole concept of failure. I'll think of it and come up with it. Probably by tomorrow. Okay. So that's your first paragraph. In reality, every idea from every discipline is a human idea that comes from a natural, thoughtful, and ideally unending journey. Yes?
By the way, Thomas Edison, I can fail a million times, but I can only succeed once.
That's true, and that is very true. Okay, an ideally unending journey in which thinkers deeply understand the current state of knowledge, take a tiny step in a new direction, almost immediately hit a dead end, learn from that misstep, and through iteration, which is repetition, inevitably move forward. That recipe for success is not just the secret formula for original scholarly discovery, I lost my spot, but also for wise, everyday thinking for the entire population. Hence, it is important to explicitly highlight how essential those dead ends and mistakes are. That is, to teach students the power of failure and how to fail effectively. That's interesting. Individuals need to embrace the realization that taking risk and failing are often the essential moves necessary to bring clarity, understanding, and innovation. By making a mistake, we are led to the pivotal question, why was that wrong? By answering this question, we are intentionally placing ourselves in a position to develop a new insight and to eventually succeed. But how do we foster such a critical habit of mind in our students who are hardwired to avoid failure at all costs? Answer, just assess it. Give it a grade. You guys get a grade on your drafts, don't you? And aren't they sometimes failures? Okay. For the last decade or so, I've put my students' grades where my mouth is. Instead of just touting the importance of failing, I now tell students that if they want to earn an A in the class, they must fail regularly throughout the course of the semester, because 5% of their final grade is based on their quality of failure. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? How do you grade quality of failure? Would such a scheme provoke a change in attitude? Absolutely. With this grading practice in mind, students gleefully take more risk and energetically engage in discussion. And when a student, say Aaron, makes a mistake in class, he exclaims, "Oh, well, my quality of failure grade today is really high." The class laughs and then quickly moves on to the next step, answering, "Why was that wrong?" It's not enough to console an incorrect response with a nurturing, "Oh, Aaron, that's not quite right, but we still think you're the best." It sounds like you're playing in elementary competitions and everybody gets a trophy, right? Now, does anyone else have another guess? Okay. So we in other words, you need to think about the failure. Instead, a mistake solicits either the enthusiastic yet honest response, "Congratulations, Aaron, that's wrong. Now, what lesson or insight is Aaron offering us?" Or the class question, "What do you think? Is Aaron correct?" Either way, the students have to actively listen and then react, while Aaron sees his comment as an important element that allows the discussion to move forward. So we're not talking about failure on a test. We're talking about attempting an answer and it's wrong. It happened at 9 o'clock. I got several wrong answers about the questions at the end of this. And so we tried to work our way through to see why they got it wrong. So we can learn from our failure. Okay. I often refer back again and again to someone's previous mistake to celebrate just how significant it was. Excuse me. If we foster an environment in our classrooms in which failing is a natural and necessary component in making progress, then we allow our students to release their own genius and share their authentic ideas, even if, or especially when, those ideas aren't quite polished or perfectly formed. After returning a graded assignment and reviewing the more challenging questions, I ask students to share their errors. And the class immediately comes to life. Everyone wants to show off their mistakes as they now know they are offering valuable learning moments. What's more, in this receptive atmosphere, it's actually fun to reveal those promising gems of an idea that turned out to be counterfeit. More recently, I've asked my students to intentionally fail in the spirit of an industrial stress test. I now require my students to write a first draft of an essay very quickly and poorly, long before its due date, and then have the students use that lousy draft as a starting point for the hopefully lengthy, iterative process of revising and editing. Sorry, I guess it's just my time to cough is at, 10:15? 10:13. When the work is done, they must submit not only their final version, but also append their penultimate draft, all marked up with their own red ink. I kind of tried to get y'all to do that with that narrative peer revision where you were supposed to go in and mark where you needed to fix things. This strategy assures that they will produce at least one intermediate draft before the final version. Not surprisingly, the quality of their work improved dramatically. When I consult with or lead workshops for faculty and administrators, they are drawn to this principle of intentionally promoting failure, which inevitably leads to the question, how do you assess it? How do you give them a grade on something like that? The first time I tried my 5% quality of failure, I had no idea how to grade it, but I practiced what I preached, taking a risk and being willing to fail in the noble cause of teaching students to think more effectively. I passionately believe that assessment concerns should never squelch any creative pedagogical experiment. Try it today and figure out how to measure it tomorrow. In the case of assessing quality of failure at the end of the semester, I ask my students to write a one-page reflective essay describing their productive failure in the course and how they have grown from those episodes, which might have occurred outside of class, including false starts and fruitful iterations. They conclude their essay by providing their own grade on how they have evolved through failure and mistakes, from 0, meaning I never failed, or I learned nothing from failing, to 10, meaning I created and understood in profound new ways from my failed attempts. I read their narratives, reflect on their class participation and willingness to take risks, and then usually award them the surprisingly honest and restrained grades they gave themselves. To date, I've never had a student complain about their quality of failure grade. Excuse me. Yeah. To my skeptical colleagues who wonder if this grading scheme can be exploited as a loophole to reward unprepared students, I remind them that we should not create policies in the academy that police students. Instead, we should create policies that add pedagogical value and create educational opportunity. That's a big sentence full of jargon for English teachers, or any kind of teacher. And with respect to my grading failure practice, I found no such abuse at the 3 institutions in which I have employed it: Williams College, the University of Colorado at Baylor, and Boulder, and Baylor University. I'm reading ahead. Maybe I'm allergic to you. Maybe that's what it is, Dante. What do you think?
Wow.
I'm just being honest. No.
Maybe I did come in bringing nuts, who knows?
No, that's not going to do it. On the contrary, if implemented correctly, you will see your students more engaged, more prepared, and more thoughtful in class discussions and in life. Beyond the subject matter contained in the 32 to 48 courses that typical undergraduates fleetingly encounter, our Students' Education centers about the most important creative feat of their lives, the creation of themselves. Creating a mind enlivened by curiosity and the intellectual audacity to take risk and create new ideas, a mind that sees a world of unlimited possibilities. So we as educators and scholars should constantly be asking ourselves, have I taught my students how to successfully fail? And if not, then what am I waiting for? So you have 10 questions to answer after that. I'll give you probably 10 to 15 minutes to do that. I just want to point out, you are not allowed to end your essay with questions. You are not professional writers. This is proposing something to the audience of college professors. Okay? You're not doing that. So, and be aware, there's 2 paragraphs in the introduction. I want 1 paragraph introductions, okay? So, you work on those questions. I happened to answer during the last class, so, yeah, I see, trying to see my answers to the paper, okay? So if you'll answer those, okay? And would it be easier for you if you work out of my book? For you, because of reading? Okay, that's why I'm offering that. And if you want to work together, you can do that too. So, you guys also. I'm gonna. I don't like cough drops, so that's part of the problem, I think. I do not like the flavor. They're like, oh, wow. I still have the list of my kids from Morton. Morton, I still have y'all's names on a piece of paper in my purse. That's kind of crazy. Maybe a piece of gum will always be after this shit.
Can't believe we're already in week 10.
Huh?
Can't believe we're already in week 10.
Yeah, really, there's only 5 weeks of work, and one of the weeks has 1 day in it. That would be Thanksgiving week.
Oh, goodness.
I took my shoes off, sorry. I can't wear flip-flops anymore, it's too cold. I'm depressed about that. I mean, I've had this for a week and a half. I'm ready for it to go away.
I can,
Mhm.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
I'm sorry, are y'all asking questions?
I'm sorry, but which questions did he want us to do?
The questions I want everybody to do 1 through 10 that come right after the reading that begins on 379.
Alright, thank you so much.
Okay. And again, you can work together to speed up the process a little bit. The biggest disturbing thing is that now when I cough, stuff comes up. Oh my goodness. This is interesting. If anybody's doing the death penalty, a mentally impaired man is to be hanged for possessing heroin. This is in Singapore. 1.5 ounces of heroin. He's got an IQ of 69. That's very interesting. Hmm. That's interesting. Joke of the day. It's not going to open. Okay. saved additional money on my Amazon pre-order. Oh, I got that book yesterday, I saved $3.
Are you using honey?
Huh?
Are you using honey?
I do not like honey. I'm not a honey person. I think my parents did it to me when I was little, when they gave me a hot toddy. You know, honey and lemon and some alcohol. It's supposed to be good for coughing. I don't eat honey, is the result.
I'm at like the shopping app.
Huh?
I'm at the shopping app. It helps you find like online discounts.
Oh, okay. Well, no, this is with Amazon and books.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's actually rather handy.
Yeah, I pre-order all the time. The book came in yesterday and I was like, I'm not sure what this is. And I opened up and said, oh, I forgot I ordered that. Cause they tell you when they're gonna release them, and it could be 6 months to a year earlier.
Yeah, but Bluetooth ring. Or whenever February rolls around.
Hmm. Hmm. Y'all almost done? Or are we still working? Still working? Okay. Hmm. appreciate your coffee, that makes me feel better. I don't feel like I'm the only one. I love filling out surveys from book publishers. They give you gift cards, Tango gift cards. This is interesting. Texas shouldn't participate in daylight savings time. I'm not gonna read it. I don't care. Need a couple more minutes on that. I'm
You can
sorry.
move on.
Huh?
No, you're free to move on.
Well, I need the book. That's why, okay? It's a lot easier for me to, moving the computer over there is not successful.
Where's the next one?
Huh?
Is it gonna stay? Is that the question?
Huh?
Is it-
Will it stay up there and not fall down? Oh, no telling. Absolutely no telling when I'm doing something. There we go. I'm gonna move my camera over so you can see me standing on my toes listening to the speaker. I'll move the microphone over a little bit closer. Okay, so. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to randomly call on students from different schools, whether it's SBC Morton or Post, okay, about the question. Oh, you were actually reading the student stories, okay. Oh, that's a smart idea there. Okay. That way you've got, it's just a little easier in the book. Okay, so, Post, I'm gonna pick one of you. So, we're gonna talk about question one. What is the thesis of Berger's essay? If it is stated directly, locate the relevant sentence or sentences. If it is implied, state the thesis in your own words. And let's go with Michaela over at Post. What do you think, Michaela?
I put to teach students the power of failure and how to fail effectively.
Okay, so, but first off, was it implied or did you find it in the essay?
Oh, it's implied.
It's implied? Okay. So, tell me what your implied, say it very loudly, slowly, and I'm gonna repeat it because my students can't hear what you're saying. I have to say it to them.
I put to teach students the power of failure and how to
Stop.
fail
To
effectively.
teach students the power of failure, go ahead,
And how to fail effectively.
and how to fail effectively.
Is
Is that
the
it?
thesis. Yes.
Okay, well, which is not a complete sentence, so your thesis has to be a complete sentence. So the whole point is to teach students how to fail effectively, the power of failing effectively. I am going to disagree with her. Did anybody by chance, and what you said is right, that's the main idea of the essay. Did anybody by chance find one in the essay? I'm seeing a big whopping no reaction whatsoever. Okay.
In paragraph 3, the first line says individuals need to embrace their realization that taking risks and failing are often the essential moves necessary to bring clarity, understanding, and unity.
know, that could serve as a thesis, but I think there's one, Mateo, why did I say Mateo? It's not Mateo.
No, it is.
It is, okay, I said it right, good. All right, because I called you Matthias earlier, so. Okay, because I have a Matthias too. Okay, that could serve as a thesis, but look at the previous sentence, the very last sentence of paragraph 2. Hence, it is important to explicitly highlight how essential those dead ends and mistakes are. That is, to teach students the power of failure and how to fail effectively. So it is stated directly in there, which is what that next one says. It just goes on and elaborates and gives you more information about it. So, it's okay. She actually said, used to teach students the power of failure and how to fail effectively. That's actually not implied, that's stated, okay? So let's go over to Morton, and let's see. Kaylee, are you there? Wave at me, Kaylee. Okay, hi. She's very colorful today. Which statement would best serve as a topic sentence for paragraphs 5 and 6? Which one do you think? A, B, C, or D?
B.
She says B. Let's look at it. It says, helping students celebrate effective failure helps them learn. Okay. So, I don't know. What did you get? Did anybody else, if you got B, if that's what you thought was the answer, raise your hand. Pick it up where I can see it. Okay, I've got 3 here. Let's see, there's support at Morton. I see support. Okay, so that means she got it right, because it is B. Good job, Kaylee. Yeah, helping students celebrate effective failure helps them learn. It's like when I tell you guys, when we're talking about your drafts, and I say, listen, you know, if you're going to get something wrong, it's best to get it wrong on the draft. Remember when I was in Martin and we talked about how to do the summaries? It's better to see that you've not got it right there than to have the grade have it come in and you get a poor grade because you didn't learn from the failures. So I'm going to come into SPC. Why does, let me look at 3. Which statement would best serve as a topic sentence for paragraph 10? What do you think, Mateo? Yes, 3.
I chose A.
You chose A. Students are required to grade themselves on their quality of failure, and their grades are usually honest and correct. Anybody else pick up on A? Raise your hand if you got A. I'm not, okay, I don't see any hands raised, so I'm thinking you weren't popular. How about B? Did anybody pick? Students are required to grade themselves on the quality of failure, but their grades are often inflated. Anybody get B? Good, because that is the wrong answer, because the grades were not inflated. He made a point of saying that they weren't, okay. How about C? Students are assigned to write a 1-page reflective essay so they can fully understand the nature of failure. Anybody pick C? I've got 2 here at SPC. And then we have D. By examining their successes in honest reflective essays, students are able to demonstrate their growth. Do you think that's the answer? Okay, I'm seeing some hands up at post. Okay, let's talk about why D is wrong. What is the essay about? It is about learning from your failures. Look at the answer on D. By examining their successes and honest reflective failures. Are they examining their successes? No. They're examining their failures and what they learned from their failures. That's why that's wrong.
It's because of how it's phrased.
Well, yeah, it is, but you have to read the sentence and pay attention to all of the words. It has to be by examining their failures, not their successes. Okay? So, I'm just going to be honest and tell you that, Mateo, you picked what, A or B? You picked A, didn't you? I agree with Mateo that it's A. Students are required to grade themselves on their quality of failure, and their grades are usually honest and correct. It's A. I'm pretty confident on that one. Okay? So we'll go back to post on number 4. Which statement best expresses the implied point in paragraph 2? Hey, Stephen, what you doing? At post. What do you think? A, B, C, or D?
I picked C.
Say that once more. I wasn't close enough.
C?
C? Okay. Let's look at C. Students need to be taught how to fail because it is the key to true scholarly discovery. All right, anybody else pick C? If you pick C, raise your hand so I can tell. Martin's going for it. I've got 2 here at SPC. I'm seeing more hands up at Post. Let's see. Anybody pick, only deep thinkers are able to understand how to fail effectively? It's not about that. Students need to be taught how to fail because it is the key. That's the one we said was the answer, right? Teachers need to introduce students to the secret formula that leads to success. Good ideas go through numerous iterations, but always last the test of time. No, it has to be, C. You're right. Awesome job, okay? Okay, Martin, you're up next. Why does the author ask students to intentionally fail? Let's go with, Chris, are you there? Wave at me. Okay, Chris, you got that next question. I'm just checking the time. Make sure we can get through all of them. Which one did you pick, Chris? You're gonna have to speak up.
I got C.
You got
The class agrees ended, so we're about to shut off the
C.
water for 1 hour. I love you.
They're giving them.
Very good.
And maybe.
I got C.
As in D as in dog, D as in dog.
C is in cat.
C is in cat.
C is in cat, okay. So number 5, you said C. He wants students to understand what failure looks like so they can avoid the experience of failure in the future. Okay. Anybody else agree with C? Martin, you better get his back, okay? Post, anybody at Post think C? How about SPC? Okay, the other schools are not agreeing with you. And I'll be honest, if you look at A, his teaching style is contrarian, so he approaches learning from an atypical point of view. That's just a bunch of jargon and to confuse you and make you think it sounds right. That's not the answer. He deliberately promotes contradictory ideas to what he actually teaches in the classroom. No, he's not promoting contradictory ideas. He's promoting the use of failure to learn from your mistakes, okay? So we said C, and then D is he wants students to free themselves from the need to be perfect all the time so they are more open to learning. If you think it's D, raise your hand. Okay. And, okay, so we're going to see majority says it's D, and I'm going to be honest, Chris, I think it's D. I don't have the answers. I have to answer I answered them just like you did. I read it and answered it, okay? So, but he picked C. Does he really want them to avoid failure, the experience of failure in the future? Is that ever explicitly said? He does, the problem is that half of that sentence. It's not that he wants them to avoid failure. He wants them to use failure to learn, not avoid it. So that's why I think that D is the better answer, because so many kids in high school are so obsessed with getting the best grade. And let me tell you, I have students in that big sophomore class, they just want to know what the right answer is. They don't care why it's the right answer. They just want, they think if they'll copy a whole section of text from what they read, and they'll throw that in as the answer, but they haven't really given me the answer, because, you got 20 lines out of a poem. That's not an answer. That's, okay, I'll let her know that I can find it in there. And they want to be perfect because they want A's, because you want to get the scholarships and the valedictorian, salutatorian, historian, and whatever Orions there are in your school. Oregonians.
I thought it was only 2.
No, there's actually valedictorian, salutatorian, historian. Historians, where they get that. Okay, we need to get through this. We've got 5 minutes left. Okay, so we're up to you guys for number 6. Which of the following best defines the author's phrase, quality of failure? What do you think, Morgan? A, B, C, or D?
I was stuck between B and C.
Okay, so Morgan thinks B or C. You got to pick one. Sorry, we don't get to give both answers.
I agree with B.
I think B.
Okay, we're seeing B, B. Anybody else think it's B? Okay, I see some hands up at Post. What about Morton? What do you think? Not B? Okay, I see Chris back there on 6. So, it's not A. A student's ability to accept a failing grade? No. And think about it not as being, I think failing grade is the problem in that sentence. That you got something wrong. You make a statement, it's like here, if you answer it incorrectly, it doesn't mean you failed. You just didn't get the right answer, okay? Because I'm not giving you a grade on this. A student's ability to learn from a failing grade, isn't that what this is all about? That's the main idea. A student's ability to take academic risks, and a student's ability to fix. It's not about fixing, it's about learning from your mistakes. So it is indeed B, okay? I'm gonna do 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 so that we get through on time. Berger uses time order as his primary means of organization. I'm just gonna give you 4 examples, but there are more. Well, hence is one of those words. After is one of those words. In paragraph 4, though, there were some, not those typical transition words we think like first, second, third, next, then, after, finally. We have, in paragraph 4, you have for the last decade, that's a time signal. You can use that, it's all right. In 8, it says more recently, and in 10, it says at the end of the semester. Those are all time signals, okay? Question 9 is asking about, Berger's introductions consist of 2 very brief paragraphs. Which statement best describes the style of this introduction? I think he uses 2 of them. That's what I put down 2 answers. The first one is, it presents an anecdote that is related to the topic of why students need to learn to fail. Yes, there's a little short story in that first paragraph, okay? Where it talks about, all those students, well, because it talks about when undergraduates bemoan. That's a story, because they do it all the time. The other one is, it presents a point of view about failure in those first 2 paragraphs that is the opposite of the one that is developed in the essay. I think it's kind of both of those, combination. Okay? And on 10, which of these best describes the
Your conference is scheduled to end in 2 minutes.
And I'm going to read you what made me give me this answer. It says, it ends with the last sentence. So we as educators and scholars should constantly be asking ourselves, have I taught my students how to successfully fail? And if not, then what am I waiting for? And so that is actually going to be, it leaves the reader with a thought-provoking idea. You can't do that. You can't leave me with a question. Never leave and when you're in a class like this, never leave me with a question. And I had somebody do that, all right? So, Friday you have your test over chapter 16, those 2 readings we talked about. Make sure you you read them like Dante was doing, okay?
Just to be clear, I only use paraphrasing context to actually answer the question.
That's okay. That's not a problem. But, so make sure you take that test, try to get it done. Nobody's headed to state cross-country, are they, at any of the schools? I have a student from Abernathy who's going. And I don't know if I have any, I've got students from Newdale. I know Newdale's boys qualified for state, but I don't know if I have any of them. But I do know I have.
And it was only those 2 student essays that we're reading?
That's all you have to read to take for that test on Friday. But I would have the book open on your computer while you're doing it, so you can kind of move back and forth. But you only get 60 minutes. So have a great weekend. And next week, we're going to talk about doing the rough outline. And you need to be doing research. Let me be honest. If you don't have research done or enough research, don't just think you can only have 2 documents. You need more than 2. Okay?
Your conference is now over.
I keep getting
Goodbye.
That's Mateo. Now I'm going to call you Marcus because he did. Okay? I'm going to blame it on him.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let me go in. He's up here. We're up here to check his grade. So.
So how we've been, hopefully better, I presume.
Yeah.
I'm very glad.
It's going.
It just feels so good when you get something up when you cough.
Right?
At night, nothing comes up. It's gross. Okay.
But yeah, was it boring stuck at home? Was it boring stuck at home?
Please about time.
Fair enough.
So.
Did you watch any videos in here?
No.
Be honest, okay. That's all I'm asking is be honest. Don't lie to me, 'cause I'll know. Which puts you behind,
Yeah.
okay?
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, do you think if we had a Zoom call connected into it, you would have shown up, to be honest?
Yeah.
You think you might have?
I do that.
Okay. Well, we haven't done it this year, but I am contemplating maybe getting the region to hook it back up. The biggest problem when we put Zoom on there is that you'd have to have your microphone muted.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Because there's feedback, because we're going through another system besides Zoom. So I may talk to him about it. Okay. Let's see. You have a lot to make up when it comes to those chapter quizzes, okay? I am,
And the test is Friday, right?
yes.
Okay, just wanna make
I
sure.
felt like you were my husband for a second. I will say something, and I'm not kidding you. 2 minutes later, he'll ask me about what I just said. But he's had a stroke and it's short-term memory. So what I'm guessing is that your attention was divided and you weren't listening when I said, remember, the test is on Friday. It opens at